AIDS and HIV can be a very sickening disease. Studies have shown that people are not well educated with this disease and how it can work and be prevented. It is one of the fastest growing diseases and can spread very quickly to anybody and anywhere. Today I will discuss three different topics. I will discuss a study done in northwestern Nigeria over random people of knowledge on this subject. I will then talk about a study done in Kenya for high school students, and then I will talk about how kids were treated in school with this disease. Moving on to northwestern Nigeria. This was a long process. It was taking place in Sokoto, Nigeria. It was a study done by Awoson in 2013. It was about 184, I guess, adults. The survey was to determine the knowledge of HIV by these people in northwestern Nigeria. They were graded on. The survey was graded, so if you scored 65% or above, you had adequate knowledge of this subject. If you scored anywhere below that, you were inadequate. You were determined to have inadequate knowledge. The results of this, 180 people of the 184 had heard of this disease. Majority of them had heard through TV and radio, as you can tell by the graph. 22% by health workers, 14% by friends and relatives, and then also 14% by newspapers and magazines. 71% tested for adequate knowledge. 96% of them knew that the disease could be transmitted sexually, which is the most common way of it being transmitted. They also knew that it could be transmitted through sharp objects like razor blades and dirty needles. So we talked about northwestern Nigeria. I'm going to move on to students in Kenya. Kenya was the same type of survey. It consisted of 157 students. It was a study done by Wamwenda in 2013. It consisted of 88 boys and 69 girls. It was a 25-question survey, and they were to answer yes, no, or don't know. The results of this survey, majority were very knowledgeable on this subject. They anywhere ranged from 50 to 90%, which is average. But this was very similar to the first study that I just talked about. Although they tested very average for this, it does not void any misconceptions that they had over the subject. Moving on, I just talked about students in Kenya. I'm going to move on to how kids were treated in school with this disease. This was a very short process compared to the first two that I talked about. It was a one-question survey, and it was 424 students combined of American students, people in Kenya and South Africa. The question consisted of the question asked, should they be allowed to attend school should HIV students be allowed to attend school with students who don't have HIV? They were to answer yes, no, or don't know. The results of this were pretty harsh. They came to show that they were not welcome, or they were neither welcome nor were they treated with dignity by other people. Sadly, on top of that, most of the resistance came from parents. But overall, children with HIV afforded appropriate treatment in school. So I talked about how they were treated in school. You should now be aware of the studies done on this subject and the importance of trying to prevent HIV. I talked about 3 studies. I talked about the knowledge of people in northwestern Nigeria. I talked about the knowledge of high school students in Kenya, and I also talked about how kids with HIV are treated in school. People know about this disease, but are not thoroughly educated, and it's really important that they are. This can affect you at any point in time in your life, so I ask you to educate yourself, and so you can prevent it from happening to you. Thank you.